Good morning, everyone, on this frigid, cold, -5 degree weather out there. I hope you're bundled up and staying warm. This week's Torah portion is called Miketz. We learn about Joseph. Joseph had been spending 3 years in the darkest dungeon of the world. He was in a dungeon in Egypt, locked up, with the key thrown away, probably never to be heard of ever again. And yet Pharaoh has these crazy dreams. He knows the dreams have massive implications on his country, and he has no one to help him explain what the dream is about. The butler of Pharaoh remembers that there was this Hebrew who was in the jail when the butler was in jail, who knows how to interpret dreams, and they pull Joseph out of his cell and they bring him to Pharaoh. They cut his hair, they give him a bath, he changes his clothes, and the next thing he knows, he's explaining Pharaoh's dream. And not only is he explaining Pharaoh's dream, but he ultimately becomes second in command of the entire land of Egypt, because he understands the financial plan, how to financially plan for the success of Egypt throughout the next 14 years, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. The message that I think is so important for us to remember during this time period is the message of Joseph. It makes no difference how deep a dungeon we are in. It makes no difference how dark our situation may be. It makes no difference how cold our environment may be. If we allow Hashem to penetrate, we can be able to be uplifted to tremendous heights. And there is no one like God that can take a person and utilize their lowest point and turn it into the most amazing experience. We need to be positive, we need to be ready, and we need to be willing to believe that our situation can change. And that truly is the situation, the story of Hanukkah. Because if you think back, we had a second temple and the Greeks had thrown everyone out. There was a massive war, and a small group of people said, we believe in Hashem, we're going to fight for this. And they come to the temple, and it is a very desolate, depressing place. They knew that there was once this beautiful menorah. The menorah had been confiscated and taken as spoils by the Greeks. They didn't have the proper altar. Everything was in a mess, in a disarray. And they said, you know what? We're going to still try. We're going to believe that Hashem will help us. And they found this little bottle of oil, and they lit the candles, even though they expected the candles only to light for one night. And lo and behold, 8 days of a miracle. It makes no difference how bleak our situation is. If we only believe, if we only trust, and if we only look for it, we'll be able to see the light, the warmth, and the greatness of the miracles in our own days as well. Just like Joseph saw his own miracle happening from his darkest situation to being brought up to the highest peak, just like the Hashmonaim were seen, and they saw from their dark, desolate situation, they saw the beautiful miracle of the menorah, which represented God bringing down and loving the Jewish nation. And we can see it within our own self. I just want to share with you, you probably have seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio, where it tells the story of this guy, Frank Abagnale, who is this tremendous forger. And most of his 5 years, from the age of 16 to 22, 23, he's on the run from the FBI across countries, hiding and forging, forging checks and making and flying illegally, acting as a pilot, and he's always on the run. And eventually he's caught. They throw him into jail, and you expect this guy to sit in jail and rot. But if you really believe things can change, what happens is that Frank Abagnale, ultimately, he's employed and he's hired by the FBI to help them find forgeries, to help them to identify and to strengthen securities with regards to checks. And he was one of the great designers of our modern day check that is one of those great examples. You can be on the run, you can be on the wrong side of the law for a big chunk of time and they get thrown into jail and never expect to see it coming, never expect to ever get out. And yet if you really believe, things can change. Hashem can pull you out from the darkest pit and raise you to the highest high. We need to believe, we need to wait, we need to look for it. And when we look at those Hanukkah candles, we need to want to look for that. Look for where can we see Hashem and where can we find Hashem and create that little opening. If we open a small little opening to allow Hashem into our world, Hashem will continue to bring us to the highest of the heights. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Keep well and stay warm.